Let's get right into it. Number 10. The Roman Dodecahedrons. Archaeologists keep digging up something that looks like a Dungeons and Dragons dice made of bronze, but it's the size of a grapefruit. These weird metal objects are called Roman dodecahedrons, and they're one of the ancient world's biggest mysteries. They're hollow bronze objects with 12 pentagon-shaped faces, each face having a perfect circle carved into it, and each hole is a different size. At the corners, there are little knobs sticking out. The Romans wrote down everything: how to make concrete, how to build aqueducts, even their favorite recipes, but somehow they never mentioned what these things were for. It's like finding hundreds of iPhones in the future, but having no idea what they were used for. Some archaeologists think they were measuring tools, but there aren't any markings on them. Others say they were used to check if coins were fake, but the holes are way bigger than any Roman coin. One theory suggests they were used to knit gloves. We've found over 100 of these things, so they were mass-produced. Some have been found in rich people's graves. Others were found tossed in garbage pits, so we can't even tell if they were valuable or trash. With these objects, it's like their creators collectively decided to leave an eternal mystery. Number 9. The Plain of Jars. Scattered across the highlands of Laos, there are thousands of massive stone jars. Some of these things are taller than you and weigh as much as your car. These aren't random rocks. They're perfectly carved cylinders with wider bases and narrower tops. Nobody knows who made them, why they made them, or how they even got there. These jars are carved from solid rock, and some were moved up to 8 kilometers from where they were carved. That's like dragging a grand piano through a jungle using only ropes. Local legends tell of a giant king who had these jars made to brew massive amounts of rice wine, but archaeologists found something more disturbing inside: human remains. They discovered teeth, skulls, and bones mixed with ancient beads. Evidence suggests the flesh was removed from the bones first, as part of an ancient funeral ritual. During the Vietnam War, this area was bombed so heavily that there are still unexploded bombs scattered around the jars. It's literally a death trap surrounding ancient death jars. Number 8. The underground city of Derinkuyu. Under an ordinary field in Turkey lies something incredible: an entire city carved into solid rock. This is Derinkuyu, an underground city that could fit 20,000 people. That's like taking a small modern town and stuffing it underground. This place was built thousands of years ago, and we still can't figure out exactly how they did it. The city goes down multiple levels into the earth, reaching depths of over 180 feet. They carved out massive rooms, hallways, spaces for livestock, and even a winery. They built a ventilation system with shafts that go all the way to the surface, providing fresh air to the lowest levels. The whole city could be sealed off from the inside using massive 1,000-pound stone doors. These were stone wheels that could only be moved from one side, and each level could be sealed off separately. So if enemies got into the first level, the people below could lock them in and continue living. But we don't know who first built it, or how they managed to carve out such a massive space without modern tools, or how they got rid of millions of pounds of rock without anyone noticing. Number 7. The Moai of Easter Island. Imagine being a European sailor in 1722, spotting a tiny island in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. Hundreds of giant stone faces stare at you like you just interrupted their family reunion. These are the Moai, and they're massive, up to 33 feet tall and weighing as much as 82 tons. That's like moving 12 full-grown elephants. They quarried these statues from one specific spot, then moved them all over the island. They had no wheels, no cranes, and not even metal tools. The most mind-blowing part? Those famous Easter Island heads aren't just heads. They're actually full-body statues buried underground. So how did they move them? The native people of Easter Island said the statues walked to their spots. Recent experiments proved they were right. The statues were designed with a forward lean and a D-shaped base perfect for rocking. By tying ropes around the top and getting people on each side, they could rock these massive heads back and forth. A team of just 18 people could move a Moai 100 meters in just 40 minutes. These people made 80-ton stone heads dance across an entire island. Number 6. The Lycurgus Cup. Imagine a cup that changes color depending on how you light it. Shine a light from the front, and it looks like a milky jade green. Shine a light from behind, and it glows a fiery blood red. This cup actually exists. It's called the Lycurgus Cup, and it's sitting in the British Museum right now. For centuries, nobody could figure out how the Romans made this color-changing cup. Scientists in the 1990s finally cracked the code, and the answer is astonishing. The Romans had somehow mixed tiny particles of gold and silver into the glass. These particles are 1,000 times smaller than a human hair. Today, we call this nanotechnology, and we need electron microscopes and complex machines to do it, but the Romans did this 1,600 years ago without any modern technology. They didn't even have regular microscopes. Somehow, they figured out that by controlling the size of these nanoparticles, they could control how the glass interacted with light. The Romans never wrote down how they did it. This one-of-a-kind cup was 1,600 years ahead of its time. Number 4. The Serapeum of Saqqara sarcophagi. Deep underground in Egypt sit massive granite boxes that defy explanation. Each one weighs up to 100 tons, the same as a space shuttle, and they were built to hold mummified bulls. These boxes are carved with impossible precision. The corners are perfectly square, the surfaces are perfectly flat, and the lids fit so perfectly that you can't slide a piece of paper between the lid and the base. That's like making a vacuum-sealed container, except it weighs 100 tons. The granite was quarried from hundreds of miles away. Someone moved these house-sized boxes across the desert, without modern technology. Then, they lowered them into underground tunnels so narrow that modern construction equipment couldn't fit. Trying to cut this hard granite with the copper chisels the Egyptians had would be like trying to perform surgery with a butter knife. Yet there are 24 of these perfectly engineered boxes down there, masterpieces of engineering built for a purpose we barely understand. Number 3. The Longyou Grottoes. In 1992, Chinese farmers drained a pond and found something impossible. 24 massive man-made caves carved into solid rock. Each cave is about the size of 4 Olympic swimming pools, with ceilings reaching up to 100 feet high. You could park a commercial airplane inside them. These caves are at least 2,000 years old, but there's not a single historical record of them being built. Ancient China documented what the emperor had for breakfast, but somehow forgot to mention carving out nearly 1,000,000 cubic meters of rock. The rock itself is also nowhere to be found. The walls are covered in perfectly parallel lines carved at exactly 60-degree angles. They're so precise they look like they were done by modern machinery. Imagine carving your entire house out of a mountain in perfect symmetry, with no modern tools, and in complete darkness, then do it 24 times. The engineering is so advanced that modern experts are baffled. The caves have sophisticated drainage systems that still work perfectly after 2,000 years without a single collapse. Number 2. The Great Pyramid of Giza. Imagine building something so perfect that modern engineers still can't figure out exactly how it was done. That's what the ancient Egyptians did about 4,500 years ago. The base is perfectly level, and it's aligned almost perfectly with true north, off by only 0.15 degrees. That's more precise than some modern buildings constructed with GPS. The pyramid is made of over 2.3 million stone blocks. The average block weighs about 2.5 tons, the weight of an SUV. They were stacked so precisely that you can't fit a credit card between them. The ancient Egyptians didn't have iron tools, wheels, or pulleys. They had tools made of copper, a metal so soft you can bend it with your hands. Yet somehow they cut through granite, one of the hardest stones on Earth. Here's a secret most people don't know. The pyramid has 8 sides, not 4. Each face is slightly concave, an indentation so subtle you can't see it from the ground. It was only discovered by a pilot in 1940. This feature creates a spectacular show of light and shadow on the equinoxes. Number 1. Göbekli Tepe. Göbekli Tepe is breaking archaeologists' brains. Found in Turkey, it's a massive temple complex built 12,000 years ago. That's 7,000 years before the pyramids. When the pyramids were being built, Göbekli Tepe was already as ancient to them as the pyramids are to us. The people who built this didn't have farming, cities, writing, or even pottery. They were hunter-gatherers with stone tools, yet they carved and moved massive stone pillars, each weighing up to 20 tons. That's like 4 elephants stacked on top of each other. They arranged them into perfect circles, covered in detailed carvings of dangerous animals: lions, bulls, spiders, and scorpions. They used math before we thought humans knew math. This site completely changes what we thought we knew about human history. We thought people had to learn farming before they could build big things and form complex societies. Göbekli Tepe suggests it happened the other way around. The massive project of building a temple may have forced them to invent farming to feed all the workers. And after all that work, spanning generations, they did something even stranger. They deliberately buried the entire complex under tons of dirt. Imagine building the Empire State Building, and then just hiding it. Göbekli Tepe proves that our ancestors were far more advanced than we ever imagined, leaving us with a mystery that rewrites the very beginning of civilization. That's all for today. I'll be making similar videos in the future. Subscribe to see them.